I start off with the topic which I'm to speak is basically on the business model of the dispensing industry. Would mean what are the growth opportunities. The people who pass out from the optometry could also possibly across the globe. And when you look at why it means that there's big opportunity in India, because if you look at it, the demography, everybody knows, I don't need to, all of you are educators and you know better about the demography and what India offers with 1.4 billion people, rich history, 6,000 years. The key element is, 53% of the population is below 34 years, which means that there's a huge opportunity as a business in this particular sphere of eye care. So I guess that is what will drive the growth for India, specific to eye care. And there's no one fit all formula in India, because India is like Europe, where you have different languages, 1,600 dialects. So you cannot have one fit all in India. And that's what many of the multinationals fail to understand, and they learn by experience that you need to handle India like how you can handle Europe as a continent. And if you look at the size of the cities, we have more than six tier one cities with greater than 10 million population, and then 116 tier two cities with greater than 300,000 population. So it's a huge opportunity, and also whichever sphere anybody is in, either in business or in NGO or in education, there is something which we can all contribute. India is, of course, the fifth largest economy, and we actually outbeat Germany very recently, and France very recently, and maybe we should outbeat Germany very soon. The government sees merit in IEL, and I think there's a lot of advocacy which is going on with the government, and there's a lot of positive aspect which is going on in the government of India. Interesting part is mobile penetration of 65% in urban areas. This is quite high. I would suggest that I'm trying to eliminate the dual SIMs which are available, because the penetration otherwise given by the mobile operators is probably 99% or something in India. But if you remove the dual SIM, the penetration is still quite large at 65% in the urban areas. And per capita income is about 170K in INR as far as the per capita income is concerned. So now coming to the population, I'm just giving you the comparisons of various the countries or various bigger countries globally. And when you look at it, India's population is, of course, very close to China. So I mean, everybody knows that, and which means there is an opportunity. And when you look at the purchase power parity, India is still much lower than even China. So if you look at it, China is 3 times as higher than India in terms of PPP. And so there's a lot of catch up to be done. And that can happen only through education, through bringing up infrastructure and many other things. And more so, it's all driven by education and making India 100% literacy country, which would drive this kind of a growth. Looking at our industry specifically, the population per ECP is the eye care practitioners in broad ways, but ECP here means only the opticians. I'm not referring to the optometrists and ophthalmologists. So in this case, you look at it, it's about 36,000 to a population of 36,000. We have one ECP optician in the country. Addressed, which is required, is 165 million. Vision correction is at about 135. I'm talking about the top 500 cities. The addressable segment, which means that who requires and who we can reach out to. And there are some indicators which I've tried to work out. I'm not getting it really. And the target market today for correction is about 77 million. So which means that corrected is about 77 million, but there will be replacement of spectacles which will happen. Uncorrected is still 33 million and it's growing. So that's also a big opportunity. Look at it for the rest of India, it's about 263 million is uncorrected, which means there's a huge opportunity in tier 2 and town and villages. I'm not saying even to go to the villages, but even to towns and smaller cities, you'll be able to make a business sense out of it. Business getting into the details. So retail is identified as a key industry for infrastructure. And as far as optical market is concerned, it still remains highly fragmented. Large international optical retailers have already entered India through partnerships, and you have some bigger, large groups who have come in. Also, are integrated retailers. They are also into distribution as well as into retail, like anywhere in the world. And there are also Indian big chains which are coming into large corporates who are planning to enter into optical standalone independence. What do you mean by standalone independence? Are the independent houses, optical stores who are managed by the owners and not by the chains, either by the corporates or by a large chains, which will be very valuable for many of the agents because they are ahead of what the market really wanted to has brought in there. So we need to look at increasing vertical integration, click and mortar chains. And there is a lot of newer models which are coming in. Omnichannel is now a proof of concept because if you look at even the large groups like Lenskart, they are basically now realize that it is the optical retail, physical retail, which will drive the profitability and not the standalone e-commerce platform. I think that's given now. When you look at the optical retail, there are different formats which are now in, and many of you would be knowing that. And as we are at the statutory at the regulatory level, Indian government has allowed FDI in newer formats with a better what do you call the outlook to consumer experience. And many of them are also integrating their brick and mortar to back end with e-commerce and also omni-channel, which many of the omni-channel players have now got into physical stores. Because as we know that it's now proven that only standalone e-commerce platform actually is unable to drive profitability over the years. It actually burns cash. So that's the reason now the model, which is now seemingly looking better, is that you need to have an omni-channel integrated with e-commerce online and offline. And new formats are coming in. There's also many other larger players who are planning to come into India, and also with their own house brands. And so, coming to the penetration of while the addressable population is still there for us, it's no more disruption, I would say, but it's given now, and over a period of time, it has come into play, and I think we should certainly look at Lenskart as a global player today. With they have acquired online this Hondays and others, the Japanese retail and so on. So it's going beyond India now, and I think there would also be many other players who would also probably come into India. So it's going to be a kind of opportunity for many players as we go along. The key question would be whether how much would some people would be able to sustain, because there's capital very highly intensive capital required to make online scalable and successful. So now I just want to touch upon one aspect of the shopping behavior, which I could see it over the period of last 1 year. And maybe I stand with a different views coming from various of your views also would be appreciated in this. When you look at the Gen Z, the consumers, they actually today are not buying based on the influencer or the celebrity, especially some serious product. And they basically would like to probably look at companies which are supporting some cause, be it for education, be it for social sector, or maybe for CSR or whatever it could be. But they genuinely are looking at, the youngsters are looking at companies which actually supports such initiatives, which is basic for the larger cause of the human, for the mankind. So when you look at it, 71% also Gen Z shoppers prefer environment-friendly brands. For instance, even the packaging, they are looking at whether this is actually environment-friendly packaging, because that's also key now today for companies to address. And this is putting pressure also to companies to change. And as part of their initiatives, and many companies are moving towards having a better environment-friendly packaging. And as we say, this has been consistent, price-conscious buyers, and people do not want to unnecessarily spend a price based on fashion. See, fashion is there to stay, luxury is there, but these are a very limited and very skewed up limited market. Of course, it is profitable, but it is one sector of the market. But the larger market, which the eye care has to address, are actually determined by the price-conscious buyers. And this has also come up in Economic Times in July 3 by one of the research agencies. So this is something very, it's very pertinent to even eyewear, because eyewear as a category is moving towards this. And when you look at it, or many of the practitioners would agree with me that this is how this whole purchase behavior is happening even in eyewear. And what is key would be that how we are able to make sure that the practice is well spoken about to friends, and rather than basically being promoted by a celebrity and so on. I'm not against the celebrity culture, because in my previous business, we did have brand ambassadors and so on. But the time is changing, and I think the consumer behavior is changing. And so we need to adapt to those newer consumer needs as well. So now on the global scenario, if you look at WHO and IAPB, these are the global organizations, have actually placed uncorrected refractive error as a priority. And they believe that there is a need to have a kind of a statement, and WHO members, all the country members, have agreed on a target to increase effective refractive error coverage by 40% by 2030. So, which means that there is going to be an opportunity in every sphere of what we would do in this eye care business. Optometrists will be playing a very large role here, because they would have, for instance, and today there's a big need in R&D, and to have a lot of optometrists participating in that. There's also a need in, of course, in the optical refraction as well. And beyond that, also across India, but beyond India, also there's a huge need. And so that I think there is a big opportunity for people to take optometry as a first profession, I mean, the first choice of profession, and not as a second choice. I think this is going to happen in India. It's already started flowing in many parts, but I think the universities with G.D. Goenka University taking this lead, I think this could possibly be one of the optometry as a profession is going to be quite lucrative. It's today been short-charged. If you ask me, in India, it's been short-charged. It needs the recognition what it is due. And that can happen with a bit of an industry and university kind of a kind of a collaboration along with the optometry practices. And there is this would also translate into something good for the country as well. So I think what I would like to end here would be that there is an opportunity as for India as well. But beyond India, the global scenario, if anybody would like to go and practice somewhere outside, I can tell you there's a massive opportunity for optometry practice. So just I'll quickly go, I wouldn't take much of time here, but if you look at the Indian optical market, now again, this is my estimate, and I can each one comes up with a various estimate on this. So it's around 27,000 to 30,000 crores, but I estimate about 23,000 to 27,000 crores per annum, which means we sell close to about 140 million eyewear across the country. This is the value is basically consumer value, which means from retail to the end consumer. And the market is growing at about 5 to 7% year on year. This is typically the way the market is progressing. And if you look at why is it that eye care is becoming a growth driver, is because of we have a favorable demography, because in the earlier slides I mentioned about that we have a young population as well as an emerging presbyopic population, which is a large number, close to 250, 300 million. And then we have close to about a middle class of 350, 400 million. So disposable income is really going up. And we are turning out to be slowly moving to a consumption-driven economy than a savings economy. Debatable whether it's right or wrong, but this is the way we are moving today. The youngsters would like to spend and enjoy the what is there today rather than keeping it for the future, because the earlier generations where we lived on scarcity, but now I think it's in abundance. So the demography, disposable income is changing. It's a consumption-driven market. People are consuming more, and that is driving the economy. The challenges, of course, the high cost of capital, the interest rates are high. Real estate is over the roof now. To look at any real estate across the cities, it's still affordable in tier 2 and below, but not in metros and tier 1 and tier 1. There's still a shortage of skilled salesmen and optometrists, and I would not call it salesmen. It's probably I should correct this. It's more a question of dispensing technician. So I would rather probably would request Dr. Monica to see whether it makes sense to probably define anybody of with skill sets, if they could pass out some specific skill sets to call them as dispensing technicians rather than salesperson as a one nomenclature. May not be regulated, but it can be one way to look at one particular class of the skilled manpower who is going to address the healthcare of the especially the eye care needs of the consumer. And as I said many a time, retail market is concentrated in urban India. Average spectacle price today to a consumer is about 1,800 rupees in top 500 cities. Basically driven by single vision, and for people, I think many of you would know, but single vision being single, just one vision for a distance or the near, and the round segment bifocals. These are all plastic now. Mineral lenses or glass lenses have come down dramatically. It's all plastic lenses. And there's also, this is the value is averaging out and it's pulling down. It's primarily because the progressive segment is growing rapidly, but those are at higher values and offerings. But it's India is still 65% single vision market, and so that value is driving down and the overall average spectacle price. So in conclusion, there is a big opportunity for all stakeholders. I can tell you that we are in the right time at the right place for the students, and if we can nurture them and give them the path, I think sky is the limit, be it in commerce or clinical practice. Manufacturing is another area where people can enter and look at, because many companies are now moving into India for global manufacturing and global needs to address the global needs. I think this could be another area for the optometrists. E-commerce, of course, as I mentioned, entrepreneur, and I think this is own practice is also can drive growth for you, provided you're able to look at be a marathon player rather than a marathon runner rather than sprint. If you look at long term, I think being an entrepreneur and having patience can give you a lot of rewards. R&D is another area which is untapped, and today people are looking for, even large hospitals are looking at optometrists for the R&D centers. And of course, work with NGOs and advocacy, because many NGOs are around who's looking for quality optometrists, and they're also trying to reach out to the uncorrected refractive error space in an affordable manner. So I think huge opportunity. I don't see any other industry giving this kind of opportunity, and sky is the limit. So with this, I would like to conclude my talk.